Good morning. Okay, here's the agenda. We have an Amid of total Agarata, one long story, Samiches, and then we're going to start a new Perik Ben Soamora. On this story, it appears in the Zayar. So first, we're going to go through the story. First, we're going to go through the story, and then we're going to go through the Zayar. Okay, and it has little pitchifkis differences of the story. Very famous story. Now, Rabbi Akiva said that in the Mishnah, right? Rabbi Akiva said in the Mishnah that there's a difference between actually acting upon the act of magic versus illusion, and they use the example of harvesting a field of kishu and of gourds, and it's mashma in the Mishnah. If you just look back at the Mishnah on Samech Zayin, it says openly, Rabbi Akiva Oimeh Mishum Rabbi Yeshua. Mishum means mishem. He said in the name of Rabbi Yeshua, meaning Rabbi Yeshua taught him, Shnaim loiknim kishur and echad loiket pata ve'echad loiket chayiv. And the oisa maisa is chayiv and oiches be'enayim is pata. Fred the Gemara Kasha. Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Akiva Rabbi Yeshua Gomala. The Rabbi Akiva learned it from Yeshua and Aleph. Tanya, we're going to see a long maisa. And the whole reason of the long Maisa, right? The whole reason for the long Maisa is that in the end of the Maisa, that Rabbi Akiva learned this act of magic of gathering gourds from Rabbi Eliezer. So it's a whole Maisa, and we need it for one line. Okay? But from a Daf Yomi's perspective, it's Zeya Geshmak. Says the Gemara. Now, just to reiterate, Rabbi Eliezer was in Cherem. Rabbi Eliezer Shemutihu from the Maisa in Nun Tes and Baba Metzia regarding the oven, the snake oven that was made from earthenware. Whether you take it apart, whether automatically it's tahor or not. He said it's tahor. They said it's tamei. Hakadosh Baruch Hu agreed to Rabbi Eliezer. Torah lo b'shamayim. Probably the most famous Agadat in Shas. Probably was the famous Agadat in Shas. And so from that point on, he was in Cherem because he went against the Achei Rabbim Lahatois, yesterday's parsha. So what happens? So Rabbi Kiva, they went to visit him, and Hu Yoshe B'Kinov Shaloi. He was sitting in his kinov, meaning it was his canopy bed. He was sitting in his canopy bed. And they were in kind of alleyway leading to the bed. So they were outside, and he was in his bed. That day was Erev Shabbos. He went ahead and take off his tefillin. They said you don't wear tefillin on Shabbos. You may go out to walk out with it. Rabbi Eliezer did not wear tefillin, and he had his tefillin on. And Goya boy, he screamed at what? At his son Horkinus. V'yotza ben Zifa, and he left in a huff. Amalehem lechaveirav, said Horkinus to his friends, my father is screaming. I think he's dying. I think he's not totally in his kalim. So Amalehem. So Rabbi Eliezer said that he should be daiti. What's the Bach? Why can't I find the Bach? Anyway, he says, Daiti v'das imoy nishrafa. Your das, daitcha. So he said, daitcha, your das, Rabbi Eli, it should be daitoi. Your das, Rabbi Ohorkinus is das, v'das imoy, and the das of your mother, imcha nishrafa, is there. You're not thinking correctly. Heichem anichem isa skila v'oiskim be'isa shvus. Pirish. They had not gone ahead and finished the preparation for Shabbos regarding, as we'll see in a second, the meal. If you're going to do hatamana or hadlaka on Shabbos, that's an isaskila. Taking the tefillin on Shabbos is the rabbanon. You're busy with taking care of my tefillin when you should be busy with something else. So clearly, Rebbe Eliezer was of sane mind, totally. Taisus brings a kasha. Let's look at Taisus' answer. V'yesh leimar, on the second Taisus on the page for some information. V'yesh leimar, devadai tefillin bereisha. Vadai, you take off tefillin first. Ela sheboisa shah ichru lahadlik. They had gone ahead and they had been delaying in lighting the lighting Shabbos. If they shahaya trudim b'chol yad, because they were busy with the sickness. In other words, you should have taken tefillin off and then done this, but they hadn't done this yet. And so what they're busy with? They're busy taking off the tefillin. You should be busy taking off the tefillin. Tefillin is the rabbanon. There's more important things. Anyway, it illustrates that Rebbe Eliezer wasn't totally sane mind, correct? So when he's Goya boy, it was because they had more important things to take care of in this Shas Hadchak of Erev Shabbos. There is a skill that would come with lighting fires or doing hatmana, and they're busy with the tefillin. And the bottom line is, what do they see? They saw that that Rebbe Eliezer was his dasus miyushiv on him. They came in and they sat in front of him. They stayed away for Ramis to be in line with the what? The Cherem. Be in line with the Cherem. Amalei, Rabbi Eliezer said, Lama basem, why you come? Amalei, they told Rabbi Eliezer, Lilma Torah, we came to learn Torah. Amalei, so Rabbi Eliezer said that Achshav Lamalei basem. And the answer is because you're in Cherem. We're coming now because you're dying. But the answer was you're in Cherem. But they didn't tell him that. Amalei, they told Rabbi Eliezer, Lehoyolona Panai. We didn't have time. They didn't want to tell him the truth, They didn't want to tell him the truth. So therefore, he said, they were, not to be Mitzayim, says the Yad Ramah. They told him that they didn't have time. Amalahem Tamiani, said Rabbi Eliezer to them, I'm wondering, Yumusu Misas Atzman, if you'll die a natural death. Ben Yoda says that they didn't reach their potential in Torah by not learning Rabbi Eliezer, and as a result, they would be punished by not dying naturally. Amalai Rabbi Akiva Shalimahu, said Rabbi Akiva, what about me? Amalai Shalcha Kashim Mishalahen, your death is going to be worse than theirs. Not okay, that's what he said. He took his two hands. Rabbi Eliezer took his two hands, but he put it on his heart. Amar Oilachem Shtezroi Sei Shelahem Kishtei Sifrei Torah Sheneglolin Harbe Torah Lamarati Harbe Torah Limarati. I learned a lot of Torah and I taught a lot of Torah. Harbe Torah Limarati V'lechasarti Miraboisai I feel Kikel V'mlakim in Ayam. So much Torah I took from my Wad, from my Rabbeim, and it didn't even take away the amount of that a dog drinks some water. Harbe Torah Limarati V'lechasarani Talmidai Elikim Choshev Feres. And much Torah I've taught, and they've only taken away from me the amount when you take a makeup tube and put something makeup, that's the amount they took out. In other words, there was so much more I could have given. I learned 300 halachas regarding Baheris Aza. Baheris is a type of tsaras, and Aza means a strong one. No one asked Davar, no one ever asked me about these intricate halachas that I know. Some say even 3,000 halachas. This is why we're bringing in regarding the kishuf of planting kishuim. Akiva ben Yosef, he went ahead and did ask. Pamachas one time. We were going on the way. Amali Rebbe, to go teach me something about the kishuf of planting a kishuin. Amati davar echad. So Rabbi Eliezer said one thing, and the smali kol asad kishuin, and all of a sudden, punk like that, the field was full of gourds. Amali Rebbe, lamadateni tiyasan. You taught me what? How to plant them. Lamdeni akirasan. Teach me how to go ahead and harvest them. So Amati davar. So Rabbi Eliezer said something. Echad niskapsu kulam lamakam echad. And lo and behold, they were all harvested and they gathered in one spot. So the bottom line is, what do you see from here? We're bringing this all in because you see it was Rabbi Eliezer who taught Rabbi Akiva about Netias Kishua, not Rabbi Yeshua. That's the whole reason we're bringing this story, because to focus on this one point. So Amruloi, they said to him, and these are all shilas in regarding these. They took some type of leather to go ahead and cover different objects. By covering these objects, these leather objects, is it are they Makabal Tuma? They have a base key bells. It was Shaila in Tyrus. Okay, so they said to him, Hakadur is a type of a ball. Imus is a form for a shoe. A kameya is an amulet. Utswar hamargolios, and a pouch to her pearl. Umishkoilos katana, and a small weight. And they're made of leather. The Makabal Tumah or not. So Amalehem Hain Tameyin, they're Tamei, V'Tarasan B'Mashahain. And if they get, the tire is the way they are. You don't have to empty them out. Minol shal gabe imas mahu. They asked them, what about, is the minol when it's on the form, is it Gemar Malacha and Makabal Tumah or not? Amalehem, hu tahar? No. V'yatza nishmasa b'tayra. He said hu tahar, and the last word he said was tahar. That what? And the last word he said is tahar, and his neshama left him. And his neshama left him. That was the list that, so Amar Rabbi Yeshua al Ragla v'Amar, Hutar haneder, hutar haneder. They took off, the chayrim can be even after the person's death. They took off the chayrim. They took it off. They annulled it. L'moitzi Shabbos, then this was Erev Shabbos. L'moitzi Shabbos, Pagaba Rabbi Akiva min Kesari Lud. Rabbi Akiva, he joined the Levaya, right, from Kesari to Lud. And Hayamakir B'Sarei at Shadamei Shaisis La'aretz. Rabbi Akiva was hitting himself, the blood was flowing to the ground. Pasach Alav B'Shur of Omar, he opened up his hesped for Rebbe Eliezer. Avi, this is the lashon that Elisha said when Eliyahu died. Avi, Rechav Yisrael Parashav. My father, the Rechav Yisrael, right? Harbe Moyes Yeshli. I have much money, mainly Shulchani Lahart Saisan. I have no one to change it. I have a lot of questions, and there's no one who can answer them anymore. Alma, what do you see? The bottom line is Rebbe Eliezer Gamra. They learned the what from Rebbe Eliezer, not from Rebbe Yeshua. So a nice Amud Gemara, right? But you see, the bottom line is that it was they learned from Rabbi Eliezer, not from Rabbi Yeshua. Gomra, and so going answers, Gomra may Rabbi Eliezer. Taka learned from Rabbi Eliezer, Svara, but he didn't understand it. Hada Gomra Rabbi Yeshua was Fazman Elay. Rabbi Yeshua was able to explain to him the whole Indian of Natias Kishuim. That's the answer. Fred the Gemara Heki Ovid, how could Rabbi Eliezer gone ahead and created Kishuim in the field? He's practicing Kishif. If anyone does Kishiv Yichayev Skila, so how could he have done that? And the Gemara Islam is shiny. It's different. Go ahead when you're learning it. Damamar like Silmad Lasais. You shouldn't learn to do Lasais to do Yatolamad Avalatolamad Lahaven Lahayras. You could learn Mad in order to understand it, to teach it. So in other words, the people in Besdin had to understand Kishiv, so therefore Rabbi Eliezer learned it not to practice it, but to know if in a case of Kishiv was brought in front of him, he should be able to go ahead right and act upon it. So this is our Gemara, and there is a piece brought down in the Margalis Hayam. Can you see? Does it say over here Kishachal Rebbe Eliezer? Does it give him Kishachal Rebbe Eliezer, guys? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, this is the Zayar. It's paraphrased. I'm gonna be reading it to you and translating, but I have the whole Zayar in front of me. So you might have some words over there that don't exist. You can see it clearly. Should I make it bigger? I can make it a little bigger. Okay, there you go. So this incident is in the Zayar. It's in Pashas Vayera on Daf Tzadik Ches Amid Aleph. Tanrabanon Kishachol Rabbi Akiva Rabbi Eliezer Gadol. That's Rabbi Hurgnis. Who you may Erev Shabbos have. It was Erev Shabbos. The Oisif Liyamine Hurgnis Berei, and sitting on his right was Hurgnis. But having Megalilei, and he was revealing to him Amikasa Umisat Rasa. He was revealing him deep things and hidden parts of the Torah. For who lahavim mekabel b'daite milaya, and Hurgnis wasn't being mekabel everything. The choshev, because he thought kimitoyrif b'daite have. He thought that Rabbi Eliezer was not being sane at the moment. He thought he wasn't in his right mind. Okay, that's what he thought. Kivan dechama the daite da'avui misyashva ilave. Since Hurgnis saw that his father's das was miyashav on him, kibul minei, he received from him meya v'tamdin v'tisha rozin iloyin, 189 secrets, upper secrets, okay, regarding the Torah. Kadmoti la'avnei shayish dimisarve v'maya iloi, when he got to the marble stone that was mixed with the upper waters. This is beyond my pay scale. Amalei, zeal, Rabbi Eliezer said, zeal, go, ve'emol le'imech, tell your mother, the stalik tfiloi ba'aser iloi. He said, go tell your mother to go ahead and take my tefillin and put it in a place where the place where I was learning Torah. You should take this is an addition, take my tefillin. So we just had that he took the tefillin off. Here he's saying, telling what you should do with the tefillin. Take the tefillin and put it by Asra Eloi. And it should be in a place, Eloi, an upper place. And they explained, the Sefer Masach Midavash explains that it's speaking the place where I learn. Okay. Bachi Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, he was crying. Rabbi Akiva was crying. Vamalei, Rebbe, oilif li oiraisa. Go ahead and teach me Torah. Oilif li oiraisa, teach me Torah. So Eftach Pumei Rebbe Eliezer, the Meiser Merkava. Rebbe Eliezer began speaking about the highest level of Torah, of deep depths of Torah in the Meiser Merkava, of the first in Yecheskel, the opening. And Esa came fire, the Ascha Litravayon, and this fire went ahead and it surrounded both of them. So it came, as we were learning, the fire came and it surrounded both of them. So Omru Chachime, and says the Chachamim, and this fire did not surround them. Shmamina, the less anon chayzin ukadon lakach. Like we don't belong here. You know, it's obviously we don't belong here. These things are happening. It's dafka for them. Okay. Nafku lepischa debra. So they went out. They went out. And nafku lepischa debra v'yasivu taman. They sat outside. So have manda have v'ozol esa. So what they learned, and the fire left. V'oilif babeheres aza tlasmei halachas psukos. And then Rabbi Eliezer taught Rabbi Akiva these 300 lachas about this beheres aza. V'oilif le, again, now this is missing. V'oilif le reish yud vav taimim de psuke de shirashirim. And he taught Rabbi Akiva 216 reasons, deep reasons behind the psukim of shirashirim. V'havei Rabbi Akiva nechdemaya. They were crying. He puts in parentheses over here, fellas. Mikan hamakar la'amir shirashirim erev Shabbos. You know, there's a minute to say shirashirim erev Shabbos. Here's the source. It's a source in Kabbalah, that the fact that Rebbe Eliezer taught the depths of shirashirim to Rabbi Akiva erev Shabbos, that's the minute to go ahead and say what shirashirim erev Shabbos. Fascinating. So now the eyes of Rabbi Akiva, he was crying. He was crying, and the eschazer esa kidekamisa, and the fire came back, fellas. The fire came back when he started going ahead learning the Shir Hashirim. The fire it came back. Kadmati lahai psuka, when they got to the pasuk samchuni ba'ashishus, the pasuk says samchuni ba'ashishus raftuni b'tapuchim ki cholas avas ani lo yochel lisbol Rabbi Akiva. He couldn't eat. Rabbi Akiva was too much for him. Whatever the depths of learning there was too much for him. V'orim koli b'bchiyasa v'goyi, and he raised his voice, crying and screaming. Lehavi memale mitchiloi d'shrinte davi taman. He wasn't able to go ahead and to speak from the fear of the Shekhinah that was there. As a result of what he was saying in Shir Hashirim, he couldn't speak because of that. Oirile kol akmisa v'razin ilo dahavi b'Shir Hashirim. So Rabbi Eliezer taught Rabbi Akiva all the secrets and depths of Shir Hashirim. V'oimile umya d'lo yishlamish b'shum chad psukim hinei. And he said that you don't have rishus. He went ahead, he made him swear not to go ahead to use any of these psukim. Okay, we had a very interesting Gemara, fellas, in beginning of Megillah, where Yonis ben Uziel wanted to write he wanted him to targum the Ksuvim, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, "Who's revealing my secrets to the world?" And they stopped him. So this is very similar to that. That in the secrets that are licked in Shir Hashirim, the deep, deep, deep secrets, and that he revealed, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hurkinus revealed to Rabbi Akiva, but he made Rabbi Akiva swear that he would not go ahead. He wouldn't use it. That the world should not be destroyed because of it. That's whole Inyan Messiah. So I thought it's fascinating. You get a view of a Gemara, but it leaves out pitchifkis here and there, the depths of what went on over there. That of this amazing, really amazing. That first of all, Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Eliezer is Rabbi Eliezer God was called Rabbi Eliezer for a reason. He was a shamuti for a reason. He went against Kal Yisrael for a reason. It's just amazing, the godlessness. You can't believe what a Tana was. You get a glimpse of what a Tana was. That the other Tanoim were not zoichet to be able to understand his words. And his feeling that what. But I saw a very nice shot. He says, my hands, but like tied to his chest, like he wasn't open. So there's a Gemara in it's in Saita, but it's also in Makkas. The Gemara is in Makkas Daf Yud Aleph. The Gemara says, Amrav Yehuda Amarav, Nidui al Tanai Tzarech Hafara. If you put it Nidui on a condition, even if you fulfill the condition, you have to take it off. The Gemara there is discussing that if a tzaddik goes ahead, you make a condition, and even the conditions fulfilled, you still have to, the shul will be makayim. Right? I think the Gemara there is discussing the world. David was trying to find out the place of the base of Migdash, and he pulled the plug, and the world started flooding. And he said, "Anyone knows the answer to this question? Right? Can you go ahead, Juan, and doesn't say it should die, it should choke." And Achitofel says, for a Saita, we go ahead and we erase the Shem Hashem. So certainly to go ahead and save the world. So they wrote the Shem Hashem, and they threw it down, and it stopped. So Achitofel fulfilled the condition. Nonetheless, he choked to death. So you see that klolas tzaddik, afila b'chinam hiba. So the Gemara here is continuing and saying that the nidui of it tzaddik, afila b'chinam hiba. So Yehuda put himself in chayrim if he wouldn't return Binyamin. Right, and he did return Binyamin. When he spoke to Yaakov, Yaakov didn't want to give him because Onochi Aravena. He says, "I'll guarantee his safety. Don't worry." And he returned it. He fulfilled everything, but nonetheless, he said, "If I don't return him, I'll be in nidui." So we see from here, Amar Yehuda Rav nidui al tonight sarach hafari ne'afar minalon mi Yehuda dechsiv im lo yavi oisem elecha. If I don't bring him back to you, okay. Amar Rabbi Mishmul ben Achmeni, Amar Rabbi Yonasan, my dechsiv. And the bracha given to Yisrael Yehuda, when he gives a bracha to Ruvain, it says Yechi Ruvain Val Yamus. Yisrael Yehuda, the whole pasuk doesn't flow. It doesn't make any sense. What does it mean? You're discussing Ruvain and then you're bringing Yehuda. Koloisin Mem Shana Shal Yisrael b'Midbar. All the 40 years that Yisrael were in the Midbar, Atzmoisav Shal Yehuda Haya Mugugolim Ba'arin. Right. All the Shvatim were taken out of Mitzrayim, fellas. All their shildan, all their skeletons were intact, except Yehuda's. Yehuda's bones were all rattling around. They were rattling around. Moshe came and davened. Mi garim leRuvain sheyoida. Who caused Ruvain to admit his fault by going ahead and moving the bed? Who said? It was Yehuda who said, by Tamar ata tzadka mimeni. You're more righteous than I. V'zoisli Yehuda. This should be Yehuda. In other words, what it says, Yechi Ruvain. Yehuda, what caused Ruvain to live? Because he was Maida. What caused him to be Maida? It was Yehuda. Precisely Yehuda, that he should be in the state of his bones rattling around. Shema Hashem call Yehuda. Hashem, listen to the voice of Yehuda. Ayel Ibre L'Safa. All the bones, they went back to their sockets. So they were dislocated. Now you had a form, a skeleton. They still not let Yehuda into the yeshiva shel Maila. Moshe says, "Vel amoy tivienu." Let him be brought to his am. So he was brought into the yeshiva. He didn't know how to go ahead and fight in learning. Bahade Rabbanim with the Chachamim. It says Yodav Ravloi. It's Yodav Ravloi. Says beautifully the Torah Chaim that you see Yodav Ravloi when it comes to learning. Yodav, his hands, Ravloi fight for him. So that's pshat over here in the Gemara over here. When it says my two hands like this, you didn't come to learn by me. I was not Yodav Ravloi. I was not able to go ahead and be Isaac. That's what Torres Chaim learns that there. Hadrolech Abba Mrs. Bezdin, Hadrolech Abba Mrs. Bezdin, Hadrolech Abba Mrs. Bezdin.
It's interesting. I think, isn't it Rabbi Akiva who said that Shir HaShirim is Kodesh Kodashim?
Well, it certainly is Kodesh Kodashim.
No, I'm saying, but there's a Gemara like that. I think someone said it's Kodesh, and he said it's Kodesh Kodashim because he learned it. He learned it. He saw all this.
Yeah, he would know. He knew all the Yisaitis there. He would know. He would know it. Very, very good. Very good, Rabbi. Okay, we begin at Perek Ben Sora Morer. Can you see something? You see Psukim, guys? Yeah, good. Okay, but Devarim Chaf Aleph, Pasuk Yud Ches. Ki ish ben Sora Umorer, einenu shamea b'kol aviv v'kol imoy. He does not listen. V'yisru oisai, they warn him. We'll see that means they get malchus. V'lo yishma aleim, he still doesn't listen to them. V'safsu by aviv v'imoy, and they'll take him, they'll grab him. V'yitziu oisai el zikne iroi, they'll bring him to the elders of the city. V'el shar mekomo, to the bezdin. V'yomru el zikne iroi, beinenu zeh sora umoreh, einenu shomea b'kolenu, doesn't listen to our voice. Zolol v'sove, and we'll see what that means. Urgamu kolan she'iroi ba'avanim v'meis. The people will stone him, he'll die. Ubiata ra mekerbecha, you'll remove the ra from among you. V'chol Yisrael yishmu v'yiro. So this is the pasuk, the parsha of Ben Sora Umorer. Certainly one of the most difficult conceptually parshas in the Torah. But the Ben Sora Umorer is judged al Shem Soifai. He didn't do anything then in his life that would warrant a death penalty, but it's inevitable that he's going to be someone that we wouldn't be part of the society because he's going to be a detriment to the society, and they stone him. It's, again, we're going to see in the Gemara, there never was a Ben Sora Umorer. There never was. Again, to check all the boxes almost is impossible. But this is the Perek. Now, this is one of the Elohein and the Skolim. This is the one of the 18. Again, on that Daf Nun Gimel, guys, we had the 18 people who get skila. This one, since there are so many halachas associated with it, it gets a perek by itself. We included everything in Arba Mises Bezdin. Everything was included in that perek. But because there's so many different halachas regarding the Ben Sora Umorer, it gets a perek by itself. But it's really underneath the window of Elohim and the Skull. So really, it's more than a connection to the last perek. It's a continuation of the last perek. It's really a continuation of the last perek because again, it is one that's gets skila. So Ben Sora Umorer me'emasai nase Ben Sora Umorer. Okay, so look at first Rashi. Seder Niskolin. This is part of the Seder of skila. The Tam Perek Leil, like we learned before. Messiah Hel Chaysav Azal. We're finishing the halachas of skila and we're going on. We're finishing the halachas of skila and going on. We're going to see the window of Ben Sora Umorer is probably about 3 months. Probably about 3 months. What's the window that a person possibly can come a Ben Sora Umorer? Misheyavi shtei sa'aros, from the time he brings 2 sa'aros ba'oisei makon, ad sheyakif zaken, until his beard is full, hatachdoin, referring to the lower area of his body, v'loya elyon, but not to the upper area. When we say zakan, we usually mean what? We usually mean facial hair. It doesn't mean facial hair. It means in the place of the pubis. It means that area of the body. So it's the time he brings 2 hairs. When is that, guys? 13 and a day, until the zaken is full. And el shedibru chachamim b'lashon nekiya. The reason why we use the lashon zaken is to speak a lashon. We use a lashon nekiya. We're using a very proper lashon. We always use a very more positive lashon. Shenemar kiela ish ben. If it be to a man ben Sora Umorer, ben v'loy bas, doesn't exist by girls. No such thing, even though as we conceptually there should be ben v'loy ish. Ben v'loy ish. In other words, a son and not an adult. So we've excluded from the parsha a girl and excluded an adult. Katan pata. Why? Shlei ba l'chal mitzvahs. A katan is pata does not come b'chal mitzvahs. Now, l'chayri, that's totally we would know a cotton's potter, guys. Do we have any place that a cotton is a baroinish? Do we have anywhere in Shas where a cotton's a baroinish? We don't have that. So that would the line over here is extremely interesting. That you're saying that a cotton is potter because it's not a baroinish. Now, Fred the Gemara cotton milanon. Where do you know a cotton cannot be a ben soro morer? Where do you know a cotton cannot be a ben soro morer? Minalan de potter. Minalan. What do you mean? Where do you know? Kidik tani taima. Shaloi ba lechal mitzvahs. Because he didn't come out to the category of mitzvahs, as the Mishnah commented. So what do you mean, minalan? You need a pasuk to tell me that? V'su heicha ashkechin the onish hakosav. Where do you find that the Torah would be mechayev him the hacha liboy kro lemifterei? In Shas, fellas, by now we know if the Torah doesn't tell it to you, it doesn't exist. If the Torah doesn't tell it to you, it doesn't exist. You don't need the Torah to tell me something. There's certain things that you don't need the Torah to tell me, right? Things that are physically impossible, you don't need the Torah to tell me. Things that, again, we always speak out things that without the Torah, if the Torah says it, the Torah tells me, I would think the other way, unless the Torah tells it to me. Why would you think that a cotton is possibly chayiv? Why would you think that a cotton is possibly chayiv that you would need to tell me cotton minol and that's potter? So two things. One, I know it's potter. The Mishnah said it's potter. Sveitens, and why were you thinking in the first place that you had to ask the question? There's no reason to ask the question. A cotton's always potter. The cotton's always potter. Says the Gemara, "Ano hochi kamin." And here's what I said: Atu ben soru moirer al cheto nerag. Is it ben soru moirer killed because he did something wrong? Did he did a chait against the Torah that a cotton would be potter from? Al shem soifei nerag. As we're going to see, we don't kill him what he is now. We kill him what he will be. The kivin dal shem soifei nerag afilu cotton nami. Such a lumdish teretz, guys. The whole parsha ben Soromora is a futures. I'm killing him now because I'm saving him for what he will turn into. So therefore, since I'm saving him what he would turn into, I would think that it applies to everybody. Not only someone who's a bar oinish now, even a person who's not a bar oinish now. Because what we're worried what he will be. If the cotton is going to turn into something, so therefore, we know on that the parsha doesn't apply to him. Since the whole chiddush ben Soromora is what he's going to turn into, so Mimela, I would say that applies to what? To a cotton also, because we're looking at the here and now. We're looking, in other words, right now, this person is not mechayiv. The ben Soromora, when he fits that age bracket that he could be one, he didn't do anything wrong that would get the death penalty. We're killing him now because in the future of what he's going to turn into. Memela, I would say the same thing would apply to a cotton. Of course, we don't care what he is now, and therefore I have to know why not. V'oid, in addition, ben v'loish cotton mashma. When it says ben, it's mashma cotton. Ben sorumora. Guys, when I say son, doesn't mean necessarily a bar oinish. It's mashma what? A son. So, and for the Gemara, your question. Okay. What's the Gemara's question? How do you know that what? A cotton's out of the parsha? Right, Gemara, what are you talking about? Why should he be in the parsha? He's a cotton. It says the Gemara, I'll tell you two reasons he should be in the parsha. One, svara. Two, the pasuk. First the easy one, the pasuk. What does it say? Ben soromora. If you have a ben, is your cotton your ben? Sure he is. He is. He's your ben. He's your ben. So therefore, since he's your ben, I would say maybe he's in the parsha. And Sveitens, the svara, the whole reason he's being killed is on Shem Seifoi, that would apply to a cotton as well. That goes ahead and illustrates the Gemara's kasha. That's a kasha. We're showing that's taka kasha. And for the Gemara, Amarav Yehuda Amarav, the Amakra, the pasuk says, "V'chiyeh ish ben," and when the pasuk says that there will be to an ish a ben hasamech l'gvuras shalish. We're speaking about a ben who is next to the power of being an ish. In other words, not a regular son, but a son who's close to being an ish, a son who's close to having the power of an ish. Okay, meaning he's not a cotton, he doesn't have that power. And as we're going to, so who is a son it's a son that is of age, he's reached puberty, and he's closer to what? To Gvura. So that's as he ages a little bit, as we're going to see in the Gemara. So in answer to your question, a ben that is close to what? To the Gvura of an ish. Okay, let's look. Rashi says, ben sorumora lechal ish haben hazeh ben sorumora. When this person reaches to be chal ish, when he comes to being an ish, then he becomes a ben sorumora, but not a cotton. So ben that reaches b'chal ish. Now we said, what's the window from the time he brings two saros till the time that it's makif? Now, makif, just to be quick, do this quickly. Makif can be a large amount of area here in the area or a small amount. So the Gemara qualifies it. Tan Reb Chia, Achiyakif Atara. So the Atara is what is surrounded by here. Kiyas Rav Dimi Amar, Hakafis Gid, the Hakafa of the Gid, V'le Hakafis Beitzim. Only the Hakafa of the Aver, but not the Hakafa of the Beitzim. Since the Hakafa of the Beitzim is a longer area. This is basically a 3-month window. Amrav Chisda, cotton shahoylid, ein benoi nase ben soru morer. A cotton that had a child, his son cannot become ben soru morer. Shnemar, kiyel ish ben. There'll be to an ish a son. Guys, an ish means not a cotton. Leish to an adult ben, v'loi ben, but not a cotton, a son. So we're going to get into today. We're not going to do it today, but tomorrow's sugya is: can a cotton physically, biologically have his child? Can a cotton physically, biologically father a child? So obviously, Rav Chisda is of the opinion he could, because Rav Chisda needs a limud to tell me that if a cotton fathers a child, that child cannot be a Mensora Morer, because the father is not an ish. Ish ben. It has to be that the father of this child is an ish. If he's a cotton, he's not an ish. So therefore, Rav Chisda needs a pasuk to tell me that, because he holds biologically a cotton can father a child. Fred the Gemara, how could Rav Chisda use it to teach me that then? That the ish the father is the ish. Haimi boy Rav Yehuda Marav. I need it for Rav Yehuda Marav's din that it can't be a cotton. That, who's in the parsha is a ben that's samach leish l'gvurasai. So I needed to teach me that he's in the parsha. I can't use it to teach me that. In other words, I need it for the ben sora umora himself. I don't need it. How can I use it? Therefore, for the father of the ben sora umora. Guys, outside. Rabbi Yehuda Marav said the following: ish ben. That means who is the ben sora umora? A ben that could be an ish. So I needed to define the ben sora umora himself. How is Rav Chisda learning it? Ish ben. Ish ben, meaning it's going on not the ben sora umora, it's going the father of the ben sora umora, right? So how could Rav Chisda use it for that if I need it for the ben sora umora himself to define when can a person be a ben sora umora? Not to teach me halacha of what the father of the ben sora umora has to be. It's going on two different people. So Fed Gemara, how could you go Rav Chisda use it for that? I need for Yehuda Marav's din. And for the Gemara, Im Kain, if it's only teaching me of Yehuda Marav's din that's going in the Ben Sormor itself, Leimakra, Kieh ben Leish. Mashma when what? When Kieh ben Leish, Mashma when a ben becomes an ish. Kieh ben Leish. You should go ahead and don't say Kieh Leish ben, put the ben first. And here's the mashmois, guys. Kieh ben Leish. When a ben becomes an ish, when he goes ahead and he brings 2 hairs, that would teach me the din of ben sora mora exactly when it starts. But it doesn't say that. My kiyel ish ben shma mina l'chav chista. Shma mina, when it puts the word ish first, it's teaching me that the ish has a ben. If it's just telling me that then Ben Sora Mores switch the order, Ben Leish. Since it puts the word Ish first, it's telling me what the father of the Ben Sora has to be like. He has to be an Ish. Fair the Gemara, and then maybe, okay, you're making a lot of sense. Maybe that's the only thing it's teaching me. Maybe all it's teaching me is that what a din in the father, but not a din in the child itself. And maybe then anyone could be a mitzvah morer, even a cotton. And Cain, if that's the case, it's only teaching me a din, but the father of the ben soromor has to be like name a krab ben ish, kiye ben ish, my leish. What's the lamed coming to teach me? Ben. It's coming to teach me leish shmamino tarti. So there you're going to learn too. Let's see Rashi, guys. Shmamino tarti. About 8 lines up. Shmamino tarti. Mishum nahashna mashmahachi mashmahachi. When it says kiye ben ish, I can go both directions. Kiye ben leish. What does that mean? Kiye ben leish. That means when he becomes a bar mitzvah, when he becomes 13. The ben leish. Guys, when the ben becomes an ish. Umeshamash menami avua. Kiye leish gadol ben. And when the ish has a ben. And not when a cotton has a ben. So by using the word kiye leish ben, it teaches me both things. It teaches me relative to the child that he can't be a cotton, and teaches me relative to the father that he can't be a cotton. Okay? And that's Bes Hashem.